The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of energy and destiny. But what happens when something falls from the stars that was never meant to touch this galaxy? Something whose power comes not from midi-chlorians, but from the light of distant suns? The dune sea of Tatooine stretched endlessly beneath twin suns, a wasteland of sand and heat where only the desperate or foolish chose to live. Owen Lars was both. He'd inherited his father's moisture farm, a collection of evaporators that extracted precious water from Tatooine's arid atmosphere, and with it, a life of quiet struggle. Beside him, his wife Beru shielded her eyes against the glare, scanning the horizon for the meteorite they'd seen streak across the dawn sky. There, Owen pointed to a plume of smoke rising from a distant dune. Crashed about 3 kilometers out, might be salvage worth claiming before the Jawas get to it. They took the land speeder, following the scorch marks across pristine sand. What they found defied explanation. It wasn't a meteorite. The pod was metallic, crystalline structures woven through its hull, still glowing with residual heat. Strange symbols covered its surface. Not Orabesh, not any language Owen recognized. The craft was small, barely larger than a speeder bike, and shaped like a star. "Owen, look!" Beru's voice carried an edge of wonder. Through a transparent section of the pod, they saw him. An infant, perfect and impossible, sleeping peacefully despite the crash that should have killed him. The pod's hatch released with a hiss, and Beru lifted the child with trembling hands. He was wrapped in a red blanket, a symbol emblazoned on it, an S shape within a diamond, rendered in colors that seemed too vibrant for Tatooine's bleached palette. The child opened his eyes. They were blue, startlingly so, and for just a moment they caught the light of Tattoo 1 and Tattoo 2, reflecting it back with an intensity that made Beru gasp. "He's not human," Owen said quietly. "Does it matter?" Beru held the infant closer. "Look at him, Owen. Someone sent him here, tried to save him. We can't just leave him." Owen thought of the Empire's stranglehold on Tatooine, of Jabba's enforcers who bled the moisture farmers dry, of the empty nursery in their home that Beru never spoke about. He thought of the risks, the questions, the danger. Then he looked at the child and saw his wife's expression and knew the decision was already made. "We'll call him Kal," Owen said, the name feeling strange on his tongue, borrowed from the partial inscription they found inside the pod. "Kal Lars, and we never speak of where he came from, not to anyone." They took the child home, leaving the pod buried beneath the sand. Above them, the twin suns blazed, pouring energy into the infant Kryptonian cells, beginning a transformation that would reshape the fate of the galaxy. In the shadows of Mos Eisley, a Jawa trader would later report finding a strange crystal near the Dune Sea, one that hummed with unfamiliar energy. On Imperial Center, analysts would flag an unusual energy signature, detected briefly in the outer rim before it vanished. And in exile on Tatooine's Junlin Wastes, an old Jedi named Obi-Wan Kenobi would feel a disturbance in the Force. Not a presence, but an absence. A void where something impossibly powerful existed beyond the Force's touch. The child slept, dreaming infant dreams, while twin suns fed his alien cells with power beyond anything the galaxy had ever known. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. Years would pass before anyone understood what had truly fallen from the stars that day. By then, it would be far too late to stop what was coming.
Kal Lars was 8 years old when he first lifted a land speeder with one hand. Owen watched from the homestead entrance, maintenance tools forgotten at his feet. The speeder had broken down, again the repulsor coils needed replacement, a expense they couldn't afford, and he'd been preparing to manually tow it to the workshop. Then Kal had simply walked over, grabbed the chassis, and hoisted the entire vehicle onto his shoulder like it weighed nothing. "Put it down," Owen said, forcing calm into his voice. Gently, Kal obeyed, setting the speeder down without a scratch. He looked at his hands, confusion and wonder mixing on his young face. "I didn't think it would be so light. I barely tried." This wasn't the first incident. At 6, Kal had outrun a speeder bike, chasing a wounded EOP back to the farm. At 7, he'd fallen from the Vaporator Tower 3 stories and walked away without a bruise. Beru had found him once staring directly at the twin suns, eyes wide and unblinking, absorbing their light like a plant drinking water. Inside, now. Owen's tone left no room for argument. In the homestead's common room, Owen and Beru sat Kal down. The boy looked between them, sensing the gravity of the moment. "You're different, Kal," Beru began gently. "You've always known you were special, but it's becoming more obvious. People will notice. People who might want to take you away, or hurt you, or use you." "The Empire?" Kal asked. Even at 8, every child on Tatooine knew to fear the Empire. The Empire. Jabba's thugs, slavers, Tusken raiders. Owen leaned forward. "You're strong, son. Stronger than anyone I've ever seen. But strength makes you a target. You need to hide what you can do. Pretend to be normal." Kal's jaw set in a stubborn line that reminded Owen painfully of himself. "Why? I could help people. I could fix things. And then what?" Owen's voice hardened. "The Empire comes, takes you apart to figure out what makes you tick? Jabba chains you up, makes you fight in his arena? You think your strength makes you safe? It makes you valuable. And valuable things get taken on Tatooine." The words hit home. Kal had seen enough slaves in Mos Eisley's markets, farmers losing their land to Jabba's collectors, the casual cruelty of Imperial patrols. Being special meant being a victim or a weapon, nothing in between. "I'll be careful," Kal promised quietly, but being careful became harder as the years passed and his powers grew. Under the twin suns of Tatooine, Kal's Kryptonian cells drank in solar radiation with desperate hunger. By 10, he could see through walls, his vision penetrating sandstone and durasteel with equal ease. By 12, he'd learned to control bursts of heat that shot from his eyes, melting metal when his emotions ran high. He learned to hide it all. Moved slower than he wanted, pretended tools were heavy. Looked away from sights his X-ray vision revealed. The deception chafed like Tatooine sand against skin, constant and irritating. Then came the day everything changed. Kal was 14, helping Owen transport a water shipment to Mos Eisley for sale. The city sprawled before them, a wretched collection of domed buildings and dusty streets where the galaxy's worst gathered to do business away from Imperial scrutiny. They just finished negotiations with a Rhodian buyer when the screaming started. A slave auction. Kal had seen them before, tried to look away, tried to pretend the chains and cages and terrified faces didn't exist. But this time, among the Twi'leks and humans and other species being sold like livestock, he saw a Togruta child. She couldn't have been more than 6, small and trembling, her montrals barely developed. A Trandoshan slaver yanked her chain, making her stumble. The crowd laughed. Something in Kal broke. "Don't," Owen said, reading his adopted son's expression. "Kal, don't you dare." But Kal was already moving. Not superhuman fast, he still had that much control, but with purpose. He pushed through the crowd, credits clutched in his hand, the moisture farm's entire profit from the water sale. "I'll buy her," Kal said, his voice cracking with adolescence but firm. The Trandoshan slaver looked down at him, amused. You don't have enough credits, farm boy." Kal held out the money. It wasn't enough, not even close. The slaver laughed and turned away. Kal's hand shot out, grabbing the Trandoshan's wrist. He meant to just get the slaver's attention, but he squeezed too hard, bones cracked like dry branches. The slaver shrieked, dropping to his knees. The crowd went silent. Kal stared at his own hand, horrified. Then the slaver's partner pulled a blaster and the plaza erupted into chaos. Owen shouted his name. The blaster fired, a bolt of red energy that should have burned through Kal's chest. Instead, it splashed against him like water against stone, dissipating harmlessly. Kal felt the heat, felt the impact like a firm push, but no pain. He looked down at his unmarked chest, then up at the slaver who'd gone pale beneath his scales. In the crowd, a hooded figure watched with ancient, knowing eyes. Obi-Wan Kenobi had come to Mos Eisley for supplies, but he'd found something far more troubling. The boy wasn't Force-sensitive. The old Jedi could sense nothing from him, as if he were a void in the Force itself. Yet he just shrugged off a blaster bolt like it was nothing. Kenobi melted back into the crowd as Jabba's enforcers arrived. This required investigation, and perhaps intervention. Kal stood frozen in the auction plaza, the Togruta child forgotten, staring at his hands while the twin suns blazed overhead and whispers of the invincible farm boy began to spread through Mos Eisley's underworld like wildfire. The Imperial shuttle descended through Tatooine's atmosphere with the casual arrogance of unchallenged authority. Inside, Commander Vulk reviewed the incident reports with growing irritation. A teenager who could withstand blaster fire. Witnesses claiming impossible strength, the usual cantina exaggerations and spice-addled nonsense, except the reports came from 6 different sources, including one of Jabba's lieutenants who had no reason to lie. Probably some idiot wearing stolen armor, Vulk muttered, but protocol demanded investigation. Any potential Force-sensitive in the Outer Rim required Imperial attention, especially after the Jedi Purge. The Inquisitorius wanted every lead followed. On the moisture farm, Owen paced like a caged Nexu, while Beru tried to project calm she didn't feel. Kal sat at the table, head in his hands, replaying the plaza incident for the 100th time. "They'll come," Owen said. "Imperial scanners will have flagged the energy discharge from that blaster. They'll investigate, ask questions, and when they find you..." He didn't finish. "Didn't need to. I'm sorry." Kal's voice was hollow. "I just wanted to help her. The little girl. You exposed yourself to save one person," Owen said harshly, fear making him cruel. "Now you've endangered everyone. Us, yourself. Every moisture farmer the Empire will interrogate looking for you." "Owen," Beru said sharply, "he's a child who tried to do the right thing. He's not a child. Look at him." Owen gestured at Kal, who'd grown to nearly 2 meters tall, his frame filling out with muscle that had nothing to do with farm work. "He's a weapon. One we can't control, can't hide, and can't protect." The words hung in the recycled air of the homestead like a death sentence. Kal stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "Then I'll leave. Go into the wastes the dunes see, somewhere the Empire won't find me." "And live how?" Owen demanded. "Eating sand? You're not built for..." He stopped. None of them knew what Kal was built for. The pod had offered no answers, just questions in an alien language and technology beyond their understanding. The proximity alarm chimed. Someone was approaching. Owen checked the security monitor and felt his blood turn to ice. 3 Imperial speeder bikes, carrying stormtroopers in white armor, kicking up dust plumes as they approached the homestead. Behind them, a larger transport vehicle crawled across the sand. "The cellar," Beru said urgently. "Kal, Hayden, no." Kal's voice had changed, deepened with sudden resolve. "I'm done hiding." He walked to the entrance before Owen could stop him. The homestead door slid open, and Kal stepped into the brutal afternoon heat. The twin suns beat down on him, and he felt his cells drink in the energy, felt power humming through every fiber of his being. The speeder bikes stopped 30 meters out. 6 stormtroopers dismounted, raising their blaster rifles. Commander Valk emerged from the transport, flanked by 2 more troopers. "You," Valk pointed at Kal. "Identify yourself." "Kal Lars, I live here. We're investigating an incident in Mos Eisley. A suspect matching your description allegedly demonstrated unusual abilities. You'll come with us for questioning." It wasn't a request. Kal could see the stun cuffs one trooper carried. The neural disruptor another had ready. They expected compliance or violence. The Empire always did. "And if I don't?" Kal asked. Valk's expression hardened. "Then you resist Imperial authority, and we respond accordingly." The stormtroopers adjusted their aim. 8 blaster rifles, all pointed at Kal's chest. Behind him, Owen and Beru watched helplessly from the doorway. Kal thought about the Togruta child, still in chains because his intervention had only made things worse. He thought about Owen's words, "weapon, can't control, can't protect." He thought about spending his life running, hiding, pretending to be less than he was while people suffered. "I want to talk to someone in charge," Kal said. "Someone who can actually make decisions, not a squad commander following orders." Valk's face flushed red beneath his cap. "You arrogant little fire." Stun setting. 8 blaster bolts erupted simultaneously, converging on Kal in a coordinated pattern designed to overwhelm any target. The blue stun energy struck him chest, arms, legs, and dissipated like morning fog under the twin suns. Kal didn't move, didn't even flinch. The silence that followed was absolute. The stormtroopers stared. Valk's mouth worked soundlessly. Even the wind seemed to die, as if Tatooine itself held its breath. "Switch to lethal," Valk whispered. The stormtroopers adjusted their weapons. Red bolts this time, designed to burn through flesh and bone. They fired again, a sustained barrage that lit up the desert with deadly light. The energy splashed against Kal like rain. He felt the heat, the kinetic impact, but his Kryptonian skin, enhanced by years of absorbing binary solar radiation, might as well have been Durasteel. Better than Durasteel, the bolts couldn't even warm him. When the firing stopped, Kal was unmarked. Not a burn, not a scratch. He brushed at his shirt where the fabric had scorched, revealing undamaged skin beneath. "Stop shooting," he said quietly. "You're wasting your ammunition." Valk stumbled backward, terror replacing authority. "What are you?" Kal didn't have an answer. He'd never known where he came from, what he was supposed to be, but he knew what he could do. He took a step forward, just one. The stormtroopers scattered, training overridden by primal fear. Kal bent down and picked up a fist-sized rock. He squeezed gently, and the stone crumbled to powder in his hand, dust streaming through his fingers. "Go back to your superiors," Kal said. "Tell them there's someone on Tatooine they can't kill, can't capture, and can't control. Tell them I'm not their enemy, not yet, but I won't be their weapon either." Valk didn't need to be told twice. The Imperials retreated to their vehicles, speeder bikes and transport, fleeing back toward Mos Eisley like they were pursued by crate dragons. Kal turned to find Owen and Beru watching him, expressions unreadable. He'd just declared war on the Empire without firing a shot. There would be consequences. More would come, better armed, better prepared. But he was done hiding. In the Jundland wastes, Obi-Wan Kenobi felt the disturbance again, not in the Force, but around it, like a stone creating ripples in still water. He'd observed the confrontation through macrobinoculars from a nearby ridge. What he'd witnessed defied everything he understood about the galaxy. The boy had no connection to the Force, yet he possessed power that exceeded anything Kenobi had seen outside of the most skilled Jedi Masters. This changed everything. The Empire would send Inquisitors next, perhaps even Vader himself. Kenobi needed to know what the boy truly was before deciding whether to help him or eliminate him. The Hutt caravan left Mos Eisley at dawn, a convoy of 3 massive repulsor barges loaded with cargo both legal and otherwise. Kal watched from a rocky outcropping 2 kilometers into the wastes, his enhanced vision tracking every detail. 60 slaves, Lyra had said. He counted 63, packed into cages barely large enough to stand in, suffering under the climbing heat of the twin suns. He'd left a note for Owen and Beru. Simple, direct. I'm sorry. I love you. Don't wait for me to come back. Because after this, the moisture farm wouldn't be safe. Nothing would be safe. But at least Owen and Beru could claim ignorance, could tell the Empire they'd disowned their adopted son, could maybe survive what was coming. The caravan followed the established route through the Dune Sea, avoiding Tusken territory, guarded by a dozen of Jabba's enforcers on speeder bikes. They weren't expecting trouble. Who would be foolish enough to attack Jabba's property? Kal dropped from the outcropping and started walking. He didn't run, didn't fly. He'd discovered that ability only yesterday, launching himself into the air in a moment of panic and nearly colliding with a passing transport ship. Flight was still new, uncontrolled, but walking was enough. He intercepted the caravan at a narrow passage between 2 dunes, stepping into their path like a prophet in the desert. The lead barge slowed, speeder bikes fanned out, their riders drawing blasters and vibro blades. "Move aside, farm boy," the lead guard shouted. "This is Jabba's property. You interfere, you die." Kal looked past the guards to the cages, to the faces pressed against the bars. Humans, Twi'leks, Rhodians, species he didn't recognize. Children, elderly, families. "Let them go," Kal said. "All of them. Now." The guards laughed. One fired a blaster bolt that splashed harmlessly against Kal's chest. The laughter died. "Last chance," Kal said. "Leave the slaves. Leave Tatooine. Tell Jabba his business here is finished." The lead guard snarled something in Huttese and gestured. All 12 guards opened fire simultaneously, a coordinated barrage that lit up the desert. Red and blue energy bolts converged on Kal from multiple angles, sustained fire designed to overwhelm and incinerate. Kal stood in the center of the storm and felt nothing but faint warmth. The blaster fire washed over him like light through a window, illuminating but harmless. His Kryptonian cells, charged by years under twin suns, had reached a threshold. He was beyond their weapons now, beyond their violence. The firing stopped. Smoke rose from overheated barrels. The guards stared in horror at their useless weapons. Kal moved. He crossed the distance to the nearest speeder bike in 3 strides, grabbed the guard by his armor, and lifted him one-handed into the air like he weighed nothing. Because to Kal, he didn't. "I don't want to hurt anyone," Kal said, loud enough for all to hear. "But I will free those people. Choose whether you want to be part of that or in my way." He set the guard down gently and turned to the repulsor barges. The cages were secured with electronic locks, reinforced durasteel, mechanisms designed to be tamper-proof. Kal gripped the bars of the nearest cage and pulled. Metal screamed. The lock shattered. The door tore free in his hands. The slaves inside scrambled backward, terrified. They'd traded one monster for another in their eyes, this strange man who bent metal like cloth. "You're free," Kal said simply. "Go, run, hide. The desert is dangerous, but freedom is worth it." They hesitated. Then a human woman, scars marking her from years of servitude, stepped forward. "The wastes will kill us. We have no water, no shelter." Kal looked around, seeing the problem clearly for the first time. Freeing them wasn't enough. They needed resources, protection, a destination. He'd acted without thinking again, breaking chains without considering what came after. One of Jabba's guards, braver or more foolish than the others, charged at Kal with a vibro blade. The weapon struck Kal's back and shattered, fragments of metal spinning away. The guard stumbled, staring at his broken blade in disbelief. Kal turned, and the guard ran. They all did speeder bikes, screaming away across the sand, abandoning the caravan, the slaves, everything. Within moments, Kal stood alone with 3 repulsor barges and 63 freed slaves who had nowhere to go. "I can get you to Mos Eisley," Kal said, thinking of Lyra and her safe house. "There are people there who can help, who can get you off Tatooine. The Empire controls the spaceport," an elderly Twi'lek man said. "They'll just enslave us again, sell us to pay for their war machine." Kal felt the weight of it then, the full scope of what he'd started. Individual acts of heroism weren't enough. Breaking chains didn't matter if there was nowhere safe to go, if the systems that enabled slavery remained intact. He needed allies, resources, a plan beyond see injustice, punch injustice. A sound cut through his thoughts, the whine of repulsor engines, different from the fleeing speeder bikes. Kal's enhanced hearing picked up multiple vehicles approaching from the east. He turned, his vision focusing across kilometers of desert, and felt his stomach drop. Imperial walkers. 4 AT-STs, their chicken-legged silhouettes, unmistakable even at this distance, marching across the dune sea with mechanical precision. Behind them, troop transports carrying what looked like an entire company of stormtroopers. They'd been waiting, watching, using the caravan as bait. The Empire had learned from their last failure. They'd sent overwhelming force. Kal stepped between the approaching Imperial force and the freed slaves, his shadow long across the sand. The twin suns climbed higher, pouring energy into his cells, and he felt power singing through him like electricity. He'd never tested his full strength, never pushed his abilities to their limit. Today, he might not have a choice. The AT-STs opened fire at maximum range, crimson laser cannons tearing across the desert. Kal braced himself, and the world exploded around him, heat and fury. This was going to hurt. The laser cannon fire struck Kal with the force of a speeding land speeder, each impact driving him backward a step. These weren't handheld blasters, they were vehicle-mounted weapons designed to punch through armor plating and fortified positions. The energy seared across his skin, hot enough that he actually felt pain for the first time since discovering his invulnerability. He gritted his teeth and pushed forward into the barrage. Each step was a battle against kinetic force that would have vaporized a normal human. Behind him, the freed slaves scattered, diving behind the repulsor barges for cover. Smart. The Empire didn't care about collateral damage. The AT-STs advanced in formation, their cannons maintaining sustained fire. Kal could see the pilots inside now, their faces visible through the cockpit viewports, grim determination mixed with fear. They knew what they were shooting at, knew it wasn't working, but orders were orders. Kal reached the nearest walker and grabbed its leg. The metal was hot from weapons discharge, but his Kryptonian skin barely registered the temperature. He pulled, muscles straining, and felt the durasteel begin to buckle. The AT-ST's gyros screamed in protest as it tilted sideways. "Abandon, walker," someone shouted inside the cockpit. The hatch popped open, and 2 pilots scrambled out, falling 3 meters to the sand before sprinting away. Kal let them go. He wasn't here to kill Imperial soldiers. He was here to prove they couldn't kill him. The walker toppled with a ground-shaking crash. Kal turned to the next one, but the remaining 3 AT-STs had adjusted tactics. They'd stopped firing at him directly and were now targeting the repulsor barges, the freed slaves. Red laser fire tore through the barges' hulls, sending shrapnel and flames erupting into the desert air. Screams rose above the weapons fire. Kal saw a Twi'lek woman fall, clutched her chest, and go still. Something ignited in Kal's chest, hotter than any laser cannon. Rage, pure and incandescent. His eyes burned, and twin beams of concentrated heat erupted from them without conscious thought. The heat vision, that's what he'd started calling it, carved through the air and sliced through an AT-ST's leg like a vibroblade through flesh. The walker collapsed, its pilots ejecting before it hit the ground. Kal had never used his heat vision at full power before, had never let himself. The beams were narrow, precise, hot enough to melt through military-grade durasteel in seconds. He swept his gaze across the battlefield, and another AT-ST lost its weapons pod, the cannons tumbling to the sand in a shower of molten metal. The last walker retreated, backing away with jerky, panicked movements. But the troop transports had arrived, disgorging stormtroopers in disciplined ranks. 50, maybe more. They formed firing lines, raised their rifles, and unleashed a coordinated volley that turned the air into a lattice of deadly energy. Kal walked through it. The blaster bolts splashed against him like rain, each impact less than a nuisance. He could see the stormtroopers' body language shifting, rigid military discipline cracking under the reality of facing something their training hadn't prepared them for. "Fall back," an officer's voice, amplified through a helmet speaker. "Establish perimeter and call for orbital support." Orbital support. Star destroyers in orbit. Turbo laser bombardment. The Empire was willing to level this entire section of desert to stop him. Kal couldn't let that happen. Too many innocent people nearby. Moisture farmers, Jawas, even Tusken tribes. He had to end this fast. He crouched and launched himself into the air. The flight was still clumsy, uncontrolled, but powered by sheer desperation and instinct. He soared 30 meters up, the desert spreading below him like a tan ocean, and for a moment felt the sheer impossible wonder of it. He was flying, actually flying. Then he came down like a meteor. Kal struck the sand between the stormtroopers and the freed slaves, the impact creating a crater and throwing up a wall of dust and debris. When the dust cleared, he stood in the center, unmarked, while stormtroopers stumbled backward from the shockwave. "Stop!" Kal shouted, his voice carrying across the desert with unexpected force. "I don't want to fight you. I don't want anyone else to die. Surrender yourself for Imperial custody," the officer shouted back. "You're harboring escaped property. You've destroyed Imperial equipment. They're not property." Kal's eyes flared with heat, twin points of red light that made the officer stumble backward. "They're people, and I'm done pretending the Empire has any legitimate authority over anyone." The officer raised his blaster. Kal's heat vision flashed out, not at the man but at the weapon, melting it into slag in his hands. The officer yelped and dropped the molten metal, shaking burned fingers. "Next person who fires," Kal said quietly. "I won't aim for the weapon." It was a bluff. He didn't want to kill anyone, but they didn't know that. The standoff held for 5 heartbeats. 10. The stormtroopers looked to their officer. The officer looked at the destroyed walkers, the crater, the boy who'd shrugged off enough firepower to level a building. "Withdraw," the officer finally said. "Maintain visual contact, but do not engage. Command needs to reassess the threat level." The Imperials retreated in good order, loading their wounded, abandoning the destroyed walkers. Kal watched them go, feeling the adrenaline drain away and leave him shaking. He'd won. Maybe. Or he'd just delayed the inevitable. Behind him, the freed slaves emerged from cover. The elderly Twi'lek man approached cautiously. "You saved us," he said simply. "I got people killed," Kal countered, looking at the bodies 3 slaves who hadn't found cover fast enough, cut down by laser fire meant for him. "They died free," the man said. That matters. You gave us a choice, a chance, more than we had in those cages. Kal wanted to argue, to point out that freedom meant nothing if you were dead, but a sound stopped him. Footsteps. A single person approaching from the direction of the Jundland wastes, walking with calm purpose across the battlefield. The figure wore desert robes, hood up against the twin suns. As he drew closer, Kal's enhanced vision pierced the shadows of the hood, revealing an older man with a lined face, knowing eyes, and a carefully trimmed beard going gray. That, the man said, in a cultured Coruscanti accent, was quite the display. Though tactically unsound, you've announced yourself to every Imperial officer in the sector. Who are you? Kal asked, tension flooding back. The man pulled back his hood, revealing his face fully. My name is Ben Kenobi, though I once went by another name, Obi-Wan. I was a Jedi Knight, before the Empire, before the Purge. And I've been watching you, Lars, trying to determine what exactly you are. You're not just anything. Kenobi's gaze was piercing. You have no presence in the Force. Not light, not dark, not even neutral. You're a void, an absence where something impossibly powerful exists. I've never encountered anything like you in all my years as a Jedi. Kal felt the weight of that assessment. Is that why you're here? To study me? Turn me over to the Empire? The Empire? Kenobi actually laughed, bitter and brief. The Empire destroyed everything I believed in, murdered my friends, corrupted my student into something monstrous. No, boy, I'm not here for them. Then why? Kenobi looked past Kal to the freed slaves, to the destroyed walkers, to the scars left by the battle. Because you just declared war on the Empire, whether you meant to or not, and wars are won or lost based on allies, resources, and knowledge. You have none of these things. I'm not asking for your help. I know, but I'm offering it anyway. Kenobi's expression softened slightly. You remind me of someone I once knew, someone who believed he could change the galaxy through sheer force of will and good intentions. It didn't end well for him. I'd prefer not to see history repeat itself. What happened to him? Kal asked, though something in Kenobi's tone made him certain he didn't want to know. He became Darth Vader, Kenobi said quietly. The Emperor's enforcer, the man who hunts down everyone like me, everyone who opposes the Empire's tyranny. And if word of you reaches him, he will come to Tatooine. He will find you, and all your strength, all your power, will be tested against the dark side of the Force. The name meant nothing to Kal, just another Imperial monster in a galaxy full of them. But the way Kenobi said it, the weight behind those words, sent a chill through him despite the desert heat. Can I beat him? Kal asked. I don't know, Kenobi admitted. I don't even know what you are, much less the limits of your abilities. But I know this, you can't fight the Empire alone. You need allies, training, understanding of the forces arrayed against you. Kal looked at the freed slaves, at the devastation around him, at the twin suns hanging in the sky like the eyes of uncaring gods. Kenobi was right. Individual heroism wasn't enough. He needed something more. What do you suggest? Kal asked. First, we get these people to safety. Lyra's network can move them, but they'll need time and distraction. Second, we disappear. Let the Empire think they've scared you off. Let Jabba believe you're hiding. Use that breathing room to learn, to plan. Kenobi paused. And third, you need to understand what you're truly facing. The Empire isn't just stormtroopers and walkers. It's a galaxy-spanning machine of oppression, backed by Sith sorcery and weapons that can destroy entire planets. Destroy planets? Kal's voice was hollow. That's not possible. The Death Star, Kenobi said grimly. I've heard rumors. The Empire's ultimate weapon, capable of reducing worlds to asteroids. If such a thing exists, then even you, with all your power, are just one being against a machine that can extinguish billions. The scope of it crashed over Kal like a physical weight. He'd thought in terms of individual fights, local problems, but the Empire was everywhere. How did you fight that? How did one person, even one with his abilities, stand against an entire galaxy's worth of oppression? I can teach you, Kenobi said. Not the Force, you have no connection to it, but strategy, tactics, the Empire's weaknesses, how to be more than just powerful, how to be effective. Kal met the old Jedi's eyes and saw something there he recognized: loss, determination, and a desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, something could be different this time. All right, Kal said, but we do this my way. No more hiding. No more pretending injustice doesn't exist while we make plans. Agreed, Kenobi said, though I reserve the right to call you an idiot when your way gets us killed. Despite everything, Kal smiled. It felt strange after the violence, after the deaths, but genuine nonetheless. Behind them, the freed slaves began organizing themselves, tending to wounded, gathering supplies from the damaged barges. They had a long journey to safety ahead of them, but they had a chance now, a real chance. And in the distance, retreating across the Dune Sea, Imperial forces regrouped and sent urgent transmissions to their superiors, messages about a new threat on Tatooine, about a being who could not be killed by conventional weapons, about a target that required the Empire's full attention, messages that would reach Imperial Center within hours, and from there would find their way to the one being the Emperor trusted to handle truly dangerous threats: Darth Vader. The transmission reached the Executor, Darth Vader's flagship, while the massive Star Destroyer patrolled the Hydian Way, hunting rebel supply convoys. Commander Vogg's report played on the holoprojector shaky footage from a helmet camera showing a figure in simple farm clothes shrugging off sustained blaster fire. Then, later surveillance footage of the engagement in the wastes. Walkers destroyed, stormtroopers routed, a crater where the subject had landed from an impossible height. Vader watched in silence, his breathing the only sound in the meditation chamber. When the footage ended, he stood motionless for a long moment. Admiral, Vader's voice carried through the ship's comm system, set course for Tatooine, maximum speed. In the Executor's command bridge, Admiral Piet felt his stomach drop. Tatooine, the one world Lord Vader typically avoided, the place where he'd once been a slave, where his mother had died, where Obi-Wan Kenobi had taken his legs and left him to burn. Whatever was on Tatooine must be significant for Vader to overcome his aversion. My lord, Piet ventured carefully, the Emperor has ordered us to pursue the rebel fleet near. The Emperor will understand, Vader interrupted, his tone brooking no argument. This threat requires immediate attention. Piet knew better than to argue further. Yes, my lord. ETA to Tatooine, 6 hours. Vader returned to studying the footage. The subject, Lars, the reports named him, bore no resemblance to any species Vader had encountered in decades of serving the Empire. His power wasn't based on the Force. Vader could sense that even through the recordings, there was no presence, no signature, just an emptiness where a being should register in the Force. It was unsettling. Everything in the galaxy touched the Force, was bound by it, but this boy existed outside that fundamental truth. He was an anomaly, a variable the Emperor hadn't foreseen, and variables, in Vader's experience, were either eliminated or controlled. 6 hours later, the Executor dropped out of hyperspace over Tatooine, its wedge-shaped bulk blotting out the stars. TIE fighters swarmed from its hangars, establishing patrol patterns, while probe droids descended toward the surface. Vader stood on the command bridge, his hands clasped behind his back, staring down at the desert world that haunted his nightmares. "My lord," Piet approached cautiously, "we've located the moisture farm belonging to Owen and Beru Lars. Satellite surveillance shows it's been abandoned recently. Additionally, we've identified the engagement site in the wastes. There are residual energy signatures consistent with the reports. Dispatch a battalion," Vader commanded. "Search every settlement, every farm, every cave in the Jundland wastes. I want this Kal Lars found and brought before me, alive." "My lord?" Vader's mask turned toward the Admiral, and Piet immediately regretted the question. "If possible, if not." Vader's hand clenched into a fist. "Acceptable losses." The Imperial occupation of Tatooine intensified overnight. Stormtroopers swept through Mos Eisley, Mos Espa, and every settlement in between. Checkpoints quadrupled. Probe droids hummed through the streets, scanning every face, searching for the mysterious farm boy who'd humiliated the Empire. But Kal Lars had vanished. In a cave network deep in the Jundland wastes, Kal sat cross-legged while Obi-Wan Kenobi paced, explaining the broader galactic situation. The cave was one of dozens Kenobi had prepared during his years of exile, hidden caches containing supplies, equipment, and knowledge preserved from the Jedi Purge. "The Emperor rules through fear," Kenobi explained. "The Jedi served as peacekeepers for 1,000 generations. When he destroyed us, he created a vacuum. The fear of the Jedi's return keeps systems in line, but that fear is fading. So he builds greater weapons. The Death Star is merely the latest and most terrible." "You keep talking about the Emperor like he's invincible," Kal said. "But he's just one man. Why doesn't someone just kill him?" Kenobi smiled sadly. "Many have tried. The Emperor is a Sith Lord, perhaps the most powerful to ever exist. He commands the dark side of the Force with a mastery that makes even Vader seem like an apprentice, and Vader himself." Kenobi's expression darkened. "Vader is death incarnate, a Jedi Knight I once knew, twisted into something monstrous. He's killed more Force sensitives than perhaps anyone in history. Dozens of Jedi Masters fell to his blade." "Could he kill me?" Kal asked directly. Kenobi considered the question carefully. "In raw power? Possibly not. Your invulnerability seems absolute against physical attacks and energy weapons, but the Force offers abilities beyond simple combat. Vader could crush your throat from across a room, stop your heart, throw you into a star. The Force isn't about strength, it's about control, manipulation, reality itself bending to will. So, I'd lose." "I didn't say that." Kenobi sat down across from Kal. "I said you'd face abilities you don't understand, but you have advantages too. Vader relies on the Force for everything, sensing danger, predicting movements, reading intentions. Against you, he'd be partially blind. You're invisible to Force-based precognition. That's not a small thing." Kal absorbed this, turning it over in his mind. "Then teach me how to fight someone like him." "I'm not a soldier," Kenobi protested. "I'm a negotiator, a diplomat who happened to carry a lightsaber. You fought in the Clone Wars. You survived the Jedi Purge. You know how to fight." Kal stood, energy thrumming through him. "I need to know how to use what I have. Not just brute strength, but strategy, tactics, how to fight smart." Kenobi studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well, but understand, Jedi training took years, sometimes decades. I can give you days at best before the Empire finds this location. Then we'd better start now." They trained in the cave's largest chamber, a natural amphitheater worn smooth by ancient water flows. Kenobi had Kal practice controlled applications of his powers, heat vision at varying intensities, precise uses of strength. measured flight attempts that ended more often in crashes than graceful landings. "You fight like a brawler," Kenobi observed after Kal demolished a rock formation with a wild haymaker. "All power, no finesse. Against stormtroopers, that's sufficient. Against Vader, it'll get you killed." "I'm open to suggestions." Kenobi picked up a metal rod from their supplies and tossed it to Kal. "Block me." Before Kal could respond, Kenobi moved with a speed that belied his age, striking at Kal's head with another rod. Kal caught the blow easily, his enhanced reflexes more than sufficient. "Good," again. Kenobi struck from a different angle. Kal blocked. Again. Another strike. Faster. Another block. "You're reacting, don't react, anticipate." They fell into a rhythm, Kenobi attacking with increasing speed and complexity, Kal blocking each strike. But Kenobi was testing him, pushing him to think beyond simple defense. "Vader won't strike at you directly," Kenobi explained between exchanges. "He'll use the environment, throw debris, collapse structures, create situations where your strength is irrelevant. You need to think 3 moves ahead." Kal focused, trying to predict where Kenobi would strike next. The old Jedi was patterns within patterns, feints within feints. It was maddening, effective. "How long did you fight Vader?" Kal asked during a break. Kenobi's expression turned distant. "Long enough to realize I couldn't win. Not anymore. Age has diminished me, and Vader has only grown stronger in the dark side. When we fought on the Death Star, he stopped himself. If we fight on the Death Star, the visions aren't certain." "Visions? The Force sometimes shows possible futures. I've seen myself facing Vader again, seen my death, perhaps. But also," Kenobi looked at Kal strangely, "I've seen flashes of blue and red, of someone standing where Jedi cannot. The visions are unclear, contradictory. Your presence disrupts the normal flow of foresight." Before Kal could press further, a proximity alarm blared, a simple mechanical system Kenobi had rigged at the cave entrance. Someone was approaching. Kenobi moved to the entrance with Jedi quickness, peering through a concealed viewport. His face went pale. "Vader," he whispered. "He's here." Alone. Kal joined him at the viewport and saw the figure in black armor and flowing cape, striding across the desert sand with mechanical precision. Darth Vader, the Emperor's enforcer, the monster Kenobi had warned him about. "How did he find us?" Kal asked. "The Force. He's hunting through it, searching for absences, voids where beings should be. You're the largest void on the planet." Kenobi's hand went to his belt, where a cylindrical object hung a lightsaber. Kal realized. "The elegant weapon of the Jedi. I'll face him," Kal said. "You're not ready. I'll never be ready by your standards." Kal started toward the cave entrance. "You said I disrupt his foresight. That's an advantage. Let's use it, Kal." "Wait." But Kal was already moving. Stepping out of the cave into the harsh sunlight of Tatooine's midday, the twin suns blazed overhead, feeding his cells with solar energy, making his skin tingle with absorbed power. Vader stopped 50 meters away. Even at that distance, Kal could hear the mechanical breathing, the rhythmic inhale and exhale that marked the Sith Lord as part machine. "Kal Lars." Vader's voice was deep, mechanically modulated, carrying an authority that expected obedience. "You will surrender yourself to Imperial custody. Resistance is futile." "I've heard that before," Kal said. It wasn't true then either. Vader's hand rose, and Kal felt something. Not physical force, but pressure, invisible hands trying to close around his throat. The Force, attempting to choke him, crush his windpipe. Kal stood still, breathing normally. Whatever Vader was doing, it couldn't affect him. His Kryptonian physiology was simply too different, to remove from the Force's influence. Vader's hand clenched tighter. The pressure increased. Rocks around Kal began to crack from the intense Force energy being channeled, but Kal remained unaffected, watching Vader with calm curiosity. "Interesting," Vader said, lowering his hand. "You are not what the reports suggested. Not Force-sensitive, not even Force-present. You are absent, an anomaly." "I'm someone who won't let the Empire enslave people," Kal said. "That's all you need to know. Defiance." Vader's respirator seemed to sigh. How tedious. The Sith Lord's lightsaber ignited with a snap hiss, the blade burning crimson against the desert backdrop. Vader assumed a combat stance, blade held in a two-handed grip, his presence radiating lethal intent. Kal had never seen a lightsaber ignited before. The plasma blade was beautiful and terrible, a weapon that could cut through nearly anything in the galaxy. Nearly anything. "Last chance to surrender," Vader said. "Same to you," Kal replied. Vader moved, and the real battle began. Vader's attack was nothing like Kenobi's measured training. The Sith Lord crossed the distance in a Force-enhanced rush, lightsaber arcing toward Kal's neck in a strike designed to decapitate. Kal raised his arm instinctively, and the crimson blade struck his forearm with a shower of sparks. The lightsaber didn't cut him. Both combatants froze, equally surprised. The blade pressed against Kal's skin, plasma meeting Kryptonian invulnerability, and the physics of the galaxy seemed uncertain about which should win. Energy crackled around the contact point, but Kal's arm remained intact. Unmarked, Vader pulled back, studying his weapon as if it had betrayed him. "Impossible. Seems to be my specialty," Kal said, and threw a punch. Vader caught it in the Force, Kal's fist stopping centimeters from the Sith Lord's mask. Invisible energy held Kal's arm in place, trembling against his strength. For a moment, they were locked in a contest, Kal's physical might against Vader's Force mastery. Then, Vader redirected the Force, sending Kal tumbling backward across the sand. Kal hit the ground hard enough to create a crater, but rolled to his feet unharmed. This was different from fighting stormtroopers or walkers. Vader wasn't trying to hurt him directly. The Sith Lord was controlling the battlefield itself. Boulders ripped free from the canyon walls, hurled at Kal with lethal velocity. Kal batted them aside, but the barrage was relentless. Vader was testing him, probing for weaknesses while maintaining distance. "You cannot win," Vader stated, his voice carrying across the desert. "Your strength is impressive, but it is merely physical. The Force is infinite. Then why are you keeping your distance?" Kal shot back. It was a taunt, but it worked. Vader's pride wouldn't allow extended cowardice. The Sith Lord advanced, lightsaber weaving through complex attack patterns, each strike designed to find a gap in Kal's defenses. But Kal didn't fight like a Jedi or Sith. He had no form, no elegant technique. He fought like a street brawler with godlike reflexes, blocking lightsaber strikes with his bare hands, the blade sparking uselessly against his skin. He grabbed at Vader, trying to grapple, but the Sith Lord used the Force to maintain separation, creating invisible barriers that pushed Kal back. They circled each other, and Kal began to understand the problem. Vader could hurt him not with lightsabers or conventional weapons, but by controlling the environment. The Sith Lord could bury him under a mountain of sand, throw him into space, trap him in situations where strength was irrelevant. But Vader had a weakness too. Every Force ability required concentration, and concentration could be disrupted. Kal's eyes flared red. Twin beams of heat vision lanced across the battlefield, not at Vader directly, but at the sand beneath his feet. The desert glass superheated instantly, melting into molten slag. Vader was forced to leap back, his concentration breaking. In that moment, Kal closed the distance. His fist caught Vader's shoulder, not a full power blow, but enough to send the Sith Lord spinning. Vader landed hard, his cape billowing around him. "You bleed?" Kal asked, seeing the way Vader moved slightly favored one side, damaged by the impact despite his armor. "Pain is irrelevant," Vader said, rising. "I have existed in agony for decades. Your strikes are nothing compared to the suffering that fuels my power." He gestured, and the entire canyon wall began to collapse. Tons of rock and sand cascaded down toward Kal in an avalanche that would have buried a battalion. Kal crouched and launched himself upward, his flight clumsy but effective, carrying him above the debris. From the air, he saw Vader clearly, the Sith Lord's hand still raised, still controlling the Force, channeling enormous power, but also vulnerable, exposed. Kal dove. He came down like a meteor, fists extended, aiming for Vader's center mass. The Sith Lord brought his lightsaber up in a desperate guard, but the blade was useless against Kryptonian skin. Kal crashed into Vader at terminal velocity, and they both went down in a tangle of limbs and armor. They grappled on the desert floor, Vader using the Force to enhance his strength, while Kal relied on raw power. It was brutally simple, no elegance, no technique, just two beings trying to overpower each other through sheer force of will. Vader's hand found Kal's face, and suddenly electricity erupted from the Sith Lord's fingers. Force lightning, the dark side's most destructive technique, channeled directly into Kal's nervous system. And it hurt. Kal screamed, his body convulsing as energy tore through him. This wasn't simple kinetic force that his invulnerability could shrug off. This was pure Force energy, attacking him on a level his Kryptonian biology couldn't fully defend against. His muscles spasmed. His vision went white, but his cells were charged with solar energy, and his body fought back. The lightning dispersed across his skin, grounding into the sand beneath them. It hurt, but it couldn't kill him, couldn't even incapacitate him for long. Kal grabbed Vader's wrist, forcing the lightning away, and headbutted the Sith Lord's mask. The impact created a visible dent in the helmet, and Vader's breathing became ragged, pained. They broke apart, both damaged in their own ways. Kal's muscles still twitched from the Force lightning, while Vader's armor was cracked, his breathing labored. "You are stronger than anticipated," Vader admitted, his mechanical voice glitching slightly. "But strength alone will not save you from what is coming." "What's coming?" Kal asked, wary. "The Death Star." Vader gestured skyward with his lightsaber. "A battle station with the power to destroy entire planets. Your home world of wherever you truly come from, he would be reduced to asteroids. Everyone you've ever known, gone in an instant. That is the Empire's power. That is what you face." "Then I'll destroy it," Kal said simply. Vader actually laughed, a harsh mechanical sound. "Destroy a moon-sized battle station? Your arrogance is remarkable. Even if you could reach it through our fleet, even if you survived the vacuum of space, you would face weapon systems designed to annihilate capital ships. One being, no matter how powerful, cannot stand against the Empire's full might. Watch me." Vader deactivated his lightsaber. "This engagement is concluded. You are too dangerous to be allowed to roam free, but also too valuable to destroy without the Emperor's input. He will want to study you, learn what you are. Until then." Vader raised his hand, and a dozen probe droids appeared over the canyon rim, their sensors focused on Kal. "You will be monitored, tracked, and when the Emperor calls, you will come willingly or not. I'm not afraid of your Emperor. You should be." Vader turned to leave, his cape flowing behind him. The Emperor has extinguished stars, broken civilizations, corrupted the strongest-willed beings into his servants. Your power is novel, but not unique. There are forces in this galaxy far beyond your comprehension. Vader walked away across the sand, leaving Kal standing in the wreckage of their battle. The probe droids maintained their position, hovering, watching. Kal could destroy them easily, but more would come. The Empire had infinite resources. Obi-Wan emerged from the cave, his lightsaber unignited but ready in his hand. He'd watched the entire fight, waiting for the moment to intervene. But it had never come. You held your own, Kenobi said, impressed despite himself. Against Vader. I've never seen anyone do that who wasn't a Jedi Master. He hurt me, Kal said, rubbing his chest where the Force lightning had struck. The lightning, it got through my invulnerability. Force lightning is pure dark side energy. It attacks the spirit as much as the body. The fact that you survived it at all is remarkable. Most beings die in seconds. Kenobi's expression was grim, but Vader was right about one thing. The Empire has weapons we cannot fight directly. The Death Star, if it exists, represents a threat even you cannot punch your way through. Then what do? You find allies, a new voice said. Both Kal and Kenobi spun to find a woman standing on the canyon rim. She wore combat fatigues marked with a symbol Kal didn't recognize, a starbird, elegant and defiant. Her hair was pulled back in a practical braid, and she carried herself with military precision. Mon Mothma sends her regards, the woman said, descending the slope. I'm Captain Syndulla, Rebel Alliance Special Operations Safe House, and we've been very interested in moisture condensation chambers beneath an abandoned mining facility 30 kilometers from Mos Eisley. Kal sat at a makeshift briefing table while Captain Syndulla Hera, she'd insisted he call her, displayed holographic intelligence on the Death Star. The image rotating above the table was terrifying in its simplicity. A sphere the size of a small moon, bristling with weapon emplacements, hangar bays large enough to house entire fleets, and, at its northern hemisphere, a concave dish that could only be a planet-destroying superlaser. This is what the Empire has been building, Hera explained. Intelligence suggests its nearly operationals continue. Once it comes online, the Emperor will have the power to destroy any world that opposes him. Rebellion will become impossible. Fear will rule absolutely. Kal studied the schematic, his enhanced vision picking out details the hologram couldn't quite capture. How do you destroy something like that? We're still working on that, Hera admitted. Our analysts believe there must be a weakness. No station that size can be perfectly defended, but we'd need the complete technical readouts to find it. Readouts that are locked in the Imperial archives on Scarif. Then we break into Scarif, Kal said simply. Hera smiled without humor. Scarif is one of the most heavily defended facilities in the Empire. Shield gate in orbit, garrison of stormtroopers, Imperial security droids, the works. It's a suicide mission. Not if you have someone who can't be killed by their weapons. Your invulnerability won't help if they seal you in Durasteel and drop you in a star, Obi-Wan interjected. He'd accompanied Kal to the meeting, skeptical of the rebellion's chances, but willing to hear them out. The Empire has contingencies for every threat. Then we need to be smarter than their contingencies, Kal said. He turned to Hera. What's your plan? She pulled up another hologram, this one showing Tatooine's orbital space. The Executor hung in high orbit, Vader's flagship maintaining its blockade. But there were gaps in the patrol patterns, brief windows where fast ships could slip through. We extract you off-world, Hera said. Get you to the core rebel fleet near Yavin IV. Mon Mothma wants to meet you personally. Assess whether you're the asset our intelligence suggests or, she paused delicately, a well-meaning liability. You think I'm a liability? I think you're powerful and principled, which is admirable, but power without coordination is chaos. The rebellion isn't about individual heroes, it's about organized resistance, systems working together. You're used to acting alone. She wasn't wrong. Every intervention Kal had made had been spontaneous, reactive. He'd saved people, but also endangered them, drawn Imperial attention that made situations worse. Teach me, Kal said, how to fight as part of a team, how to make my power count for something more than just stopping slavers and soldiers. Hera studied him for a long moment, then nodded. All right. But understand, joining the rebellion means following orders, even when they conflict with your instincts, even when innocent people are in danger, and command says to hold back for strategic reasons. Can you do that? Kal thought of the Togruta child, the freed slaves, the people he'd helped by ignoring strategy and following his conscience. Could he give that up? Submit to military discipline? I can try, he said honestly. That's all we can ask. Hera deactivated the hologram. We leave tonight. There's a fast courier ship in a hidden hangar, enough to outrun TIE fighters if we're lucky. Once we're clear of Tatooine, we'll rendezvous with the fleet. What about Owen and Beru? Kal asked suddenly. The Empire knows where they live. If they think I'm gone, already handled, Hera said gently. We extracted them 2 days ago. They're safe on an agricultural colony in the Mid-Rim. New identities, Imperial files scrubbed. They didn't want to go, but we convinced them it was necessary. Relief and loss warred in Kal's chest. His parents were safe, but he'd never said goodbye, never thanked them for the years of protection and love they'd given a strange alien child. Another sacrifice, another price paid for his power. Thank you, Kal said quietly. Don't thank me yet. The hard part's coming. They departed at dusk, when Tatooine's twin suns painted the sky in shades of amber and crimson. The courier ship, a modified CR-90 corvette named Dawn's Promise, lifted off from the hidden hangar and immediately pushed toward orbit at maximum acceleration. Kal stood in the cockpit, watching Tatooine recede below. The desert world had been his entire life, the only home he'd ever known. Now he was leaving it behind, heading toward a conflict that spanned the galaxy. Contacts, the pilot shouted. 3 TIE fighters breaking from the Executor, intercept course. Hera was instantly alert, hands flying over tactical displays. Evasive maneuvers. Kal, strap in. Wait, Kal said. An idea was forming, reckless but potentially effective. Can you open the boarding ramp while we're in atmosphere? That's insane. The pressure differential won't hurt me, Kal finished. Trust me. Hera met his eyes, saw the determination there, and made a split-second command decision. Do it. The ramp descended, wind howling through the ship. Kal walked to the edge, looking down at the TIE fighters screaming up through the atmosphere toward them. They were fast, agile, deadly, but they'd never fought someone who could survive in vacuum and fly. Kal jumped. He fell through Tatooine's thin upper atmosphere, the TIE fighters growing larger as he plummeted toward them. At the last second, he arrested his fall, hovering in midair through sheer force of will, and the lead TIE fighter flew directly into him. The impact was catastrophic for the TIE fighter. Kal crashed through the cockpit viewport, through the pilot's seat, and out the back of the craft in a straight line. The TIE exploded behind him, debris scattering across the sky. The other 2 fighters broke formation, confused by what they'd just witnessed. Kal angled toward the nearest one, accelerating through the thin air, and grabbed onto its wing. The durasteel crumpled under his grip. The fighter spun out of control, pilot ejecting before it crashed. The 3rd TIE tried to flee, but Kal's heat vision lanced out, precisely targeting the fighter's twin ion engines. They exploded in sequence, and the craft went tumbling toward the desert below, pilot ejecting successfully. Kal flew back to the Dawn's Promise, pulled himself aboard through the still-open ramp, and stood dripping with hydraulic fluid and scorch marks as the crew stared at him in shock. "Close the ramp," he said casually. "I think we're clear." Hera laughed, a sound of pure disbelief. "You're absolutely insane. And exactly what we need." They broke orbit without further incident, the corvette's hyperdrive engaging with a brilliant flash. Tatooine vanished into the starfield, and Kal watched through the viewport as they entered the swirling chaos of hyperspace. This was it. No going back. He was committed now to something larger than himself, larger than Tatooine, larger than anything he'd imagined in his simple life as a moisture farmer. The rebellion, the fight against the Empire, the war for the galaxy's soul. And somewhere in the deep core of Imperial space, in a throne room built from fear and darkness, Emperor Palpatine watched holographic reports of the Tatooine incident with ancient, calculating eyes. "Interesting," the Emperor rasped, his withered face splitting into a smile. "A being outside the Force, yet wielding power that rivals the strongest Force users. Lord Vader, you have done well to bring this to my attention." Vader stood before the throne, helmet bowed. "What are your orders, Master?" "Let him go to the rebels. Let him believe he has found allies, purpose, a cause worth fighting for." Palpatine's smile widened, revealing yellowed teeth. "And when he is most committed, when his hope burns brightest, we will show him the true power of the dark side. We will break him, and from those broken pieces, we will forge the perfect weapon. And if he cannot be broken, everything breaks eventually, my apprentice." Palpatine's eyes glowed with dark side energy. "Even stars die. Even the Force can be corrupted. This boy, this Superman, the rebels will undoubtedly call him, is no different. He will serve the Empire, or he will be destroyed so completely that even the Force itself will forget he existed." Vader bowed and retreated, leaving the Emperor alone with his schemes. In the darkness of the throne room, surrounded by the symbols of absolute power, Palpatine began to plan. The Death Star would be his demonstration. The boy would witness its power, and then, broken and desperate, he would kneel. The Emperor had seen this pattern before. Hope kindled, then extinguished, light corrupted into darkness. It was the way of the Sith, the inevitability of power. But he had not foreseen one critical detail. Lars was not bound by the Force on Yavin, and sometimes was a temporary threats came from outside the game entirely. Ancient stone repurposed for modern war. Kal stood in the main hangar, watching X-Wings and Y-Wings undergo maintenance, while pilots in orange flight suits prepared for missions he couldn't yet understand. Everything here was coordinated, purposeful, part of a machine dedicated to one goal: overthrowing the Empire. Mothma met him in a briefing room carved from temple stone. She was elegant, composed, carrying the weight of rebellion leadership with quiet authority. Beside her stood General Dodonna, a military strategist whose lined face spoke of decades in war. "Lars," Mothma said, her voice gentle but firm. "We've heard remarkable things about you. A being who can withstand turbolaser fire, who fought Darth Vader to a standstill, who exists outside the Force itself. You represent something we've never had before, a counter to the Emperor's most powerful servants." "I'm just trying to help," Kal said. "That's what concerns me." Mothma gestured to a holographic display showing galactic maps, battle reports, casualty figures. The rebellion isn't about individual heroism. It's about sacrifice, coordination, and accepting that we cannot save everyone. Sometimes we must let atrocities happen to preserve our ability to fight. Can you accept that? Kal wanted to say yes, wanted to be the soldier they needed, but honesty won out. I don't know. If I see someone in danger, someone I can help, I don't think I can just walk away. That's what I thought. Mon Mothma exchanged glances with Dodonna, which is why we're not asking you to be a soldier. We're asking you to be something else, a symbol, hope made manifest. The being the Empire cannot kill. She activated a new hologram, showing the Death Star in all its terrible glory. Our spies have confirmed it's operational. The Emperor plans to demonstrate its power soon, destroying a world to terrify others into submission. We have one chance to stop it. The technical readouts, Kal said, remembering Hera's briefing. From Scarif, a team is already being assembled, Dodonna confirmed. But even with the plans, destroying the Death Star will require a coordinated assault, starfighters exploiting a weakness while our fleet engages their defenses. It's a suicide mission by any tactical analysis. Unless, Mon Mothma said quietly, we had someone who could survive in space, who could physically assault the station's critical systems while our fighters provide distraction, someone invulnerable to their defenses. The weight of what they were asking settled on Kal. They wanted him to fly into the Death Star's superstructure, tear through its systems from the inside while rebel pilots died around him as diversions. They wanted him to be a living weapon. If it saves lives, Kal said, if it stops the Empire from destroying worlds, I'll do it. We're not asking for your answer now, Mon Mothma said. We're asking you to meet the people who'd be flying alongside you, the pilots who'll be risking everything. Then decide if this is a burden you're willing to share. She led him to the pilot ready room, where 24 men and women in flight suits gathered around holographic tactical displays. They looked up as Kal entered young faces, old faces, human and alien, all bearing the same expression of determination mixed with fear. This is Red Squadron, Mon Mothma introduced. Our best pilots, veterans of 12 engagements against the Empire, and these, she gestured to a separate group, are the new recruits, farm boys and smugglers, mechanics and dreamers who've joined the rebellion in the last few months. One of the recruits stood, and Kal felt a jolt of recognition. The young man was blond, eager, wearing an expression of determined idealism that Kal recognized from his own mirror. Luke Skywalker, the pilot introduced himself. Owen and Beru's nephew. They talked about you sometimes before they left, said you were different, special. Luke? Kal stared. I thought you were on Tatooine, helping with the farm. I was, until the Empire murdered my aunt and uncle looking for some droids. Luke's expression hardened. Turns out they were looking for rebel intelligence. Old Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi told me the truth about my father, about the Jedi. I joined the rebellion the same day. The words hit Kal like a physical blow. The Empire had killed Owen and Beru, but Hera said they were safe, extracted. He turned to Mon Mothma, betrayal burning in his chest. You said they were safe. I said we'd handled it, Mon Mothma replied, her expression filled with genuine regret. I didn't say how. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is let people believe comforting lies. They're dead because of me. Kal's voice was hollow. Because I drew Imperial attention to that farm. They're dead because the Empire is evil, Luke said fiercely. Because tyrants murder innocent people to send messages. You didn't kill them, the Empire did, and we're going to make them pay for it. Kal looked at Luke, this kid who'd lost everything, who joined a desperate rebellion with almost no chance of success, who faced death with courage and determination. He saw himself reflected there. The idealism he'd felt before reality taught him how complicated heroism truly was. The Death Star, Kal said to Mon Mothma. When do we attack it? Soon. Days, perhaps. We're waiting for the Scarif mission to return with the plans. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Use that time to prepare, train with our pilots, learn how we fight, and decide if you can truly be part of something larger than yourself. The next 3 days were a blur of activity. Kal trained in vacuum combat simulations, learning to maneuver in zero-gravity environments. He practiced with Red Squadron, learning their tactics, their communication protocols, their brotherhood forged in fire. He met with Rebel intelligence, memorizing the Death Star's layout from incomplete schematics, identifying potential targets for his unique abilities. And he talked with Luke, long conversations about Tatooine, about the family they'd both lost, about what it meant to fight for something bigger than personal revenge. Obi-Wan trained me, Luke said during one late-night talk. Just a little before he died. He said the Force was about connection, about trusting something larger than yourself. You don't have the Force, but maybe you've got something similar, the ability to inspire people, to make them believe impossible things can happen. I'm not a symbol, Kal protested. I'm just someone who got lucky, found power I don't understand, in a galaxy I'm not even from. That's what makes you perfect. Luke smiled. You're not supposed to be here, you're impossible, and impossible things are exactly what the rebellion needs. On the 4th day, the Scarif team returned barely. 3 ships out of the dozen that went, battered and leaking atmosphere, but carrying the precious cargo. Complete technical readouts of the Death Star. The briefing was urgent. All pilots and command staff crammed into the main hall. General Dodonna displayed the station's schematic, highlighting a single weakness. The Death Star's defenses are designed against large-scale assault, Dodonna explained. But here, along this trench, is a thermal exhaust port leading directly to the reactor. A precise proton torpedo strike could trigger a chain reaction, destroying the station. How precise? Someone asked. 2 meters. Straight shot, no margin for error, while traveling at attack speed under defensive fire. The room went silent. It was impossible. A lucky shot might do it, but lucky shots didn't win wars. I'll make the shot, Luke said, standing. I can do it. You're one of our newest pilots, Dodonna said skeptically. I used to bullseye womp rats in Beggar's Canyon back home. They're not much bigger than 2 meters. Luke's confidence was absolute, unshakable. Kal stood as well. And I'll buy him the time he needs. Whatever defenses the Empire has, they're not built to stop me. Mon Mothma looked between them, the farm boy pilot, and the impossible alien, both convinced they could change the fate of the galaxy. It was madness. It was desperation. It was hope. Prepare your squadrons, she ordered. We attacked the Death Star in 6 hours, and may the Force be with us all. The hangar became organized chaos pilots suiting up, astromech droids being loaded, starfighters receiving final checks. Kal stood on the temple steps, looking up at Yavin's massive gas giant hanging in the sky, and felt the weight of everything that had brought him here. A Kryptonian escape pod crashing on the wrong world, a moisture farmer couple's kindness, the slow discovery of impossible powers, the choice to stand against injustice, consequences be damned. Each decision, each moment, building toward this. Obi-Wan appeared beside him, seemingly from nowhere. The old Jedi had been on Yavin 4th the entire time, consulting with Rebel Command, but he'd kept his distance from Kal since their arrival. You're thinking about Owen and Beru, Kenobi said quietly. They're dead because I couldn't hide what I am. They're dead because they chose to protect you, knowing the risks. That was their choice, Kal. Honor it by making their sacrifice mean something. How? By being what this galaxy needs right now. Not a Jedi, not a Sith, Something else entirely: hope that doesn't bend to darkness, strength that doesn't corrupt, power wielded for others instead of self. Kenobi smiled sadly. I failed my student. Let him fall to darkness, become Vader. You're my second chance, don't waste it. The old Jedi walked away, leaving Kal alone with his thoughts and the approaching battle. In orbit above, the Death Star emerged from hyperspace, its bulk eclipsing stars. The Emperor had chosen Yavin IV as his demonstration target. The rebel base would be the first world destroyed, sending a message to the entire galaxy: resist and die. But the Empire didn't know what was coming, didn't understand that among the desperate rebels preparing to die for their cause, there was someone who couldn't be killed by turbo lasers or TIE fighters or the vacuum of space itself. The rebellion had hope, and hope, fueled by solar energy and an immigrant's determination to protect his adopted home, was about to punch back. The Battle of Yavin would be remembered as the turning point in the Galactic Civil War, the moment when the rebellion proved the Empire could bleed. But the official histories would never capture the truth of what happened in the trench run when a farm boy pilot named Luke Skywalker made an impossible shot while a being from beyond the stars tore through the Death Star's hull with his bare hands. Lars became Superman that day, a name whispered at first, then shouted, then sung across the galaxy. The rebel who couldn't die. The hero who'd held back an entire TIE fighter squadron while X-Wings made their attack run. The man who'd physically torn through blast doors and destroyed shield generators from the inside while turbo laser batteries fired uselessly at his invulnerable form. When the Death Star exploded, Kal was still inside, caught in the expanding fireball. The rebels feared he'd perished, martyred in their victory. But 3 hours later, he appeared in orbit around Yavin IV, floating in the vacuum, powered by the system's yellow sun, waiting patiently to be picked up. The Empire learned a terrible lesson that day. There were things in the galaxy beyond the Force's dominion. The Emperor redoubled his efforts to capture or kill Kal, sending Vader on an obsessive hunt that would span years. But every trap failed. Every ambush ended in Imperial defeat. The boy from Tatooine had become something the Empire couldn't counter, a symbol that resistance was possible, that tyranny could be defied. But Kal learned something too. Individual power wasn't enough. He couldn't be everywhere, couldn't protect every world, couldn't save everyone. So he did something unprecedented. He became a teacher. He trained rebel commandos in tactics, shared intelligence on Imperial weaknesses, used his abilities strategically rather than as a blunt instrument. And in quiet moments, he'd return to Tatooine, standing where Owen and Beru's farm once stood, remembering the simple couple who'd shown him what it meant to be human, even when you weren't. The war was far from over. The Emperor still plotted, Vader still hunted. But the galaxy had something it hadn't had in decades, genuine hope that darkness could be defeated. And in the skies above 1,000 worlds, they'd look up and see a flash of red and blue, a figure standing between tyranny and freedom, and they'd whisper the name that had become legend: Superman, the last son of a dead world, raised under twin suns, defender of a galaxy that wasn't his own, but had become his home nonetheless. May the Force be with you.